places where all of these pressures and it's not proof that they did, but it is consistent with the pressures and fractures may be much better developed than they are here.
Hydraulic fracturing and what it is. It involves the injection of more than 1 million gallons of water, sand, and chemicals at high pressure down and across into horizontally drilled wells as far as 10,000 feet below the surface. The process occurs after a well has been drilled and steel pipe has been inserted into the well bore and removed. Casing is perforated within the target zones that contain natural oil or gas, so that when the fracturing fluid is injected into the well, it flows through the perforation into target zones. Pressurized mixture of water and propellant and chemical is then pumped into the rock formation, causing the rock layer to crack. These fissures are held open by the sand particles so that natural gas or oil from the rock, or often the shell layer, can flow up the well and back to the surface. The process is then repeated until all natural gas is pulled from the well.
Natural gas is a clean alternative to coal. In fact, natural gas emits half the amount of CO2 as coal. This is better for the environment and ultimately reduces our carbon footprint. Because of horizontal fracking, we are now able to reach oil and natural gas deposits that were once inaccessible to us. Horizontal fracking has also created thousands of jobs across the country in a time of economic turmoil. Fracking has increased domestic energy production, which could ultimately lead to less reliance upon foreign energy sources.
In a recent case study by a UA-based grad student named Anna Notmeyer in 2011-2012, water samples from approximately 100 wells across 6 counties were collected. These water samples may or may not have been affected by fracked rock from fracking. The data later showed that none of the samples were contaminated. Another case study by Alyssa Battistoni, published in April 2012, named "Does Fracking Cause Earthquakes?" stated that since 1970, the baseline for earthquakes in the Midwest measured above 3.0 hovered around 21 per year. But beginning in 2001, that number began to rise. The number of 3.1 or higher earthquakes rose from 29 in 2008 to 50 in 2009, then to 87 in 2010, and again in 2011 to 134.
One of the other things people see is the traffic that is involved with actually going about this process. This is a major industrial process. It usually occurs in a very rural area. This is just nice forested land that looks like parkland almost. And they're bringing in typically 200 truckloads of water. And I'm not talking about a little truck, I'm talking about semis. I'm talking about backing up a string of traffic that's miles long. We can be miles long. And those are major industrial processes. So people see that and they're not used to it, and they become fearful. So there's a lot of emotional concern attached, especially by people who are, they're worried. Are they messing up our environment? Are some of these things poisons? They got those excluded from the Safe Drinking Water Act. They did not have to report what things were. Well, why would you do that? If people are trying to hide stuff, to me, it gives me the sensation that man, somebody's doing something they shouldn't be doing. I mean, otherwise, why not tell? When you go back through it, ultimately, most of the companies now are following through, and they use the claim, well, it's a secret. Well, the things that they use in the fracking solutions are essentially, it's dominated, it's 99.5% water, but they use some substances that are called surfactants. It makes the water move more easily. It's more fluid. They put some things, grains of sand. They're called proppants.
Okay, now this is a recent commercial I just saw over Thanksgiving recently.
Okay.
And I just like you to watch.
America's old frontier is now America's new frontier. North Dakota. Where every day our energy industry is using hydraulic fracturing and innovative technologies like horizontal drilling to access previously unreachable oil and natural gas, to reduce the size of well sites and protect our freshwater resources, now and into the future. See the path we're pioneering at energyfromshale.org.
Now, my question to that is, how much, what do you think about the companies, what ulterior motive do you think is behind kind of projecting this green idea of fracking?
The overall approach, it has a very strong industry bias. I don't. The idea of these horses running free and so forth, just as the other side has misrepresented some cases, I think that does not necessarily give a completely true or entirely true image of what's going on, but it is from the business model, I'm sure that the investors are very glad to see that.
What the fuck is going on with all this fracking going on? I think we need some facts to come to light.